January 8, 2020. West of Tehran. A tracked missile launcher, crew on full alert. Hours earlier, Iran had fired ballistic missiles at U.S. bases in Iraq. They were waiting. At approximately 6:14 a.m., a radar return appeared. Low altitude, climbing, outbound from the airport. The operator classified it as an inbound cruise missile. He called command. No response. He fired 2 missiles, 30 seconds apart. The target was Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752. All 176 people on board died. That weapon was not a Cold War relic. It was so new that Russia's own army barely had any because the Soviet Union collapsed the same year it entered service. In a minute, you'll see how that system became the spine of Iran's nuclear defense and the one flaw that is now being exploited, one precision strike at a time. This is the story of the Tor-M1. The SAM Russia built to close a gap NATO created, that Iran bought to protect its nuclear program, and that is now being removed with nothing to replace it. NATO's air-land battle doctrine was built on one assumption: fast, low-flying aircraft and helicopters would destroy Soviet armored columns before they could respond. The A-10 operates at 200 meters altitude. The Apache fires an anti-tank missile and breaks contact in under 10 seconds. A tank division without close air cover is a target list. The threat was not high altitude where long-range SAMs had reach. The danger lived down low, where jets could mask behind terrain and helicopters could pop up, fire, and disappear before a radar locked them. By the mid-1980s, it wasn't just aircraft. NATO was deploying cruise missiles and precision-guided munitions flying at 50 meters below standard radar coverage, each one capable of killing a command post or armored vehicle. Here's the part most people miss. Every Soviet system in the inventory owned a different altitude band. The S-300 owned high altitude. The ZSU-23-4 Shilka owned close range under 2.5 kilometers. The gap between them, from 10 meters up to 6 kilometers, was where the actual threat flew. And nothing covered it fast enough. Reaction time measured in seconds, not minutes. They needed 3 things at once: fast reaction, seconds from detection to launch, not the 5 minutes a larger battery needs to orientate. Full mobility, the system had to keep pace with armor across any terrain. And genuine kill probability against small, fast, low-signature targets that guns cannot reach at range. Most systems get 2. The S-300 has kill probability, but struggles against low-altitude targets in ground clutter and needs time to deploy. The Shilka is mobile and reactive, but a helicopter launching from 4 kilometers never enters its envelope. This system was designed to get all 3. That is what made the engineering hard. Now watch what happens when you change just one variable. Launch method. Every other Soviet short-range SAM used a rail or ramp. The missile needs clear space in front to ignite. That creates a dead zone directly above the vehicle where nothing can be engaged. The Tor-M1 uses a vertical cold launch. A gas charge ejects the 9M331 straight up to 15 meters. The solid fuel rocket ignites. Thrust vectoring rotates it toward the target before aerodynamic surfaces take over. Dead zone eliminated. Feed. 8 missiles sit in a vertical launch system built into the hull. No reload between shots. The entire magazine fires sequentially without exposing the crew. Stability. A coherent pulse Doppler tracking radar with phased array antenna and electronic beam steering holds lock through jamming. A backup electro-optical sight takes over in ECM-dense environments. The system does not go blind when the radar is attacked. Tracking workflow. Detection to launch in 8 to 12 seconds. Tracks 48 targets simultaneously, engages 2 at once. And this is where the design looks wrong, but isn't. It acquires and fires while moving at up to 65 kilometers per hour. Most SAM batteries stop to engage. This one does not. All of that on a single 34-ton tracked chassis with a crew of 4. Before systems like this existed, a Soviet armored column under air attack had 2 options: stop and deploy a SAM battery, which took minutes and left the entire formation exposed, or keep moving and absorb the threat. After the Tor-M1, that choice disappeared. The column moved. The system moved with it. When a helicopter appeared at 8 kilometers, the crew had a firing solution in under 12 seconds. The division no longer had to choose between movement and air cover. That closed the gap NATO's entire doctrine was built around. If you want to understand why Soviet engineers made the trade-offs they made and what those decisions look like when the battlefield changes, subscribe. Now let's see where this system dominated and where it gets exposed. The Tor-M1 is not a strategic layer. It defends a radius, roughly 12 to 15 kilometers around one specific asset: a nuclear facility, a missile staging area, a command node. That bubble is what it protects. Within that bubble, the logic is reaction speed over range. Single missile kill probability against UAVs sits between 0.85 and 0.95, according to Russian technical documentation. Against a cruise missile flying at 50 meters and 300 meters per second, the intercept window is tight. The 8 to 12 second reaction time is what makes the intercept possible at all. The trade-off was brutal: 8 missiles in the magazine. A coordinated strike with 10 or more simultaneous inbounds mathematically exhausts the system before every target is engaged. The cost exchange only holds as long as the magazine does. The numbers behind that exchange are worth stating plainly. A single 9 M331 missile costs a fraction of what it intercepts. An RQ-4 Global Hawk runs over $100 million. A Switchblade 600 loitering munition costs around $18,000. In 2026, a Russian Tor-M1 crew documented destroying a Switchblade 600 at between 150 and 200 meters altitude. The system engaged it on the second pass inside the reaction window at close range. The exchange worked. The constraint is not capability. It is inventory. 8 missiles, fired, gone. And Iran has no resupply pipeline under current sanctions. PS 752 confirmed the same mechanics under field conditions. The battery had been relocated and never properly reoriented. Despite that, 2 9 M331 missiles destroyed a Boeing 737 at roughly 6 kilometers within the documented reaction window under degraded situational awareness. That is not an advertisement for what happened. It is technical evidence of what the system does when it fires. It locks, it guides, it kills. The failure on January 8, 2020 was identification, not interception. Iran has 29 launchers. Each one is a finite defensive bubble around a specific high-value site. Effective out to 15 kilometers, but it carried a quiet penalty, minimum engagement range of 1.5 kilometers. Anything inside that radius is beyond what the missile intercepts. FPV drones at low altitude and close range sit precisely in that dead zone. In Ukraine, Russian Tor-M1 crews have been killed by FPV drones the system was never designed to engage. Each launcher protects the site behind it. The launcher itself has no inner shield, built to defend a facility, exposed at its own feet. The Western approach to the same altitude band, high-precision sensors, tight integration with command networks, and unit costs that make each launcher a strategic asset to protect rather than expend. The Soviet approach, rugged, field-maintainable, Designed for quantity over sophistication. 4 practical differences. Reaction time. The Tor-M1 fires from a moving vehicle in 8 to 12 seconds. Most Western equivalents require the vehicle to stop, adding critical seconds when the engagement window is already measured in single digits. Sustainment. The Tor-M1 was designed to be diagnosed and repaired by its own crew with tools carried in the vehicle. A Roland battery in West German service required contractor support for radar calibration. When a component failed in the field, the Soviet answer was, "Fix it here." The Western answer was, "Evacuate it to a depot." Philosophy: volume of fire and probability mathematics over precision per shot. Cost: Iran paid somewhere between $700 million and $1.4 billion for 29 launchers and over 700 missiles. Sources vary, and the contract was never officially disclosed. A single Patriot battery today costs over $1 billion. Same mission envelope. The Western solution was never available to Iran, even if sanctions had permitted it. On March 2, 2026, CENTCOM released footage of a precision strike destroying an Iranian Tor-M1 during Operation Epic Fury. The tracked vehicle fires one missile before the weapon hits. Operating, then gone. The system was designed for exactly the threat Iran now faces: low altitude, low cost, high volume. A Shahed 136 drone costs between $20,000 and $50,000. The Tor-M1 was built to make that exchange survivable. It still is. But under current sanctions, there is no replacement. No Tor-M2 acquisition has been verified. Each launcher lost is a permanent reduction in Iran's inner defensive layer, not a degradation, a subtraction. At 29 launchers covering Iran's most sensitive sites, losing even 4 or 5 systems opens permanent gaps in the inner defensive layer around facilities that Iran's entire deterrence posture depends on protecting. That crew west of Tehran in January 2020 was running a Soviet system designed 3 decades earlier in a mission it was not built for, under command structures that failed at the critical moment. The battery had been relocated and never properly reoriented. Command did not respond. The operator decided alone, and it still killed what it aimed at. That is what the Tor-M1 is, not a strategic layer. A bodyguard. 34 tons of Soviet engineering placed between a high-value asset and whatever comes for it. So new in 1991 that Russia's own army barely had any. So relevant in 2026 that the U.S. is removing them one at a time. When the last launcher is gone, the inner defensive bubble around Iran's nuclear sites disappears with it. What do you think fills that gap?